Did you ever imagine that you would get into politics after getting out the league?
I did not, man.
Welcome to the Black to School podcast. With two or more gathered, anything is possible. I'm one of your hosts, Hughes.
And I'm your other host, Kedar, representing that Norfolk State.
Want to give a shout out to Cheney University for being the first HBCU to open its doors on February 25th, 1837, and initiate that HBCU pride.
This podcast is to highlight successful stories of students that are currently at an HBCU, alumni of an HBCU, or affiliated with an HBCU. So make sure you tune in weekly.
Welcome to the Black to School podcast. Where two or more gather, anything is possible. We're just excited that you decided to click play, take this journey with us. I'm gonna just go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Kedar, and I represent that Norfolk State University. Behold the green and gold.
That's right. And I'm one of your hosts, Hughes, and I'm also representing the Norfolk State Green and Gold. Behold. So look, we've been on a long journey to create this podcast. This actually started off as an idea where we've been working hard, early mornings, late nights.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hughes came to me and he was like, Kedar, I got this crazy idea about this podcast. I want to highlight successful people from Norfolk State.
Right.
And I said, bruh, we need to highlight successful people from all HBCUs, not just Norfolk State.
That's right.
And you know, it really hits near and dear to me because, you know, there's this debate about PWI or HBCU.
Right.
And personally, it's a debate in my own household. Like, my wife is from LA. Mm-hmm. She went to undergrad at Berkeley. Okay. She went to med school at University of Southern California. Then she went to UCLA for residency.
Okay.
So when I talk about my HBCU experience, like, she don't get it. And she's like, man, our kids will never go to a HBCU. Huh?
Man.
What? In my big soldier voice. Huh? And so, like, when Hughes came to me for this podcast, and I just wanted to give a platform to tell successful stories from HBCUs. So parents who have an influence and where their kid is going to school, they can have a sense of comfort and ease and calm about choosing an HBCU because, you know, on this journey, hearing these stories, you learn that there's just a common connection among all HBCUs.
You're going to hear a common theme with the word family, and it's a lot. But another thing that gets misconceived is that it's actually over half of African Americans in the country that have graduated from HBCUs and are doing very successful. So we want to just highlight those individuals, and we want you to send us some names as well too. You know, email us. We'll give that information towards the end of the show. But you know, definitely we want to highlight as many possible.
Absolutely.
Right now, we control the country right now. To be honest,
right?
HBCUs control the country, and we want to thank you guys. You know, Madam VP from Howard University, Stacey Abrams galvanizing everyone for the election and turning Georgia blue. You know, so we definitely.
She from Spelman, Warnock. He from Morehouse.
So look,
you know so I mean, that's what this is about. I mean, if you know anybody that we should highlight, represent your school. FAMU, y'all got a ton of people. Howard, y'all got a ton of people. Yeah. We also want to hear from the HBCUs that may not be so popular. We want to hear from you guys as well, because I know you guys also have amazing alumni. So thank y'all for coming on this journey with us. Today we have a very special guest. This guest is graduate of Norfolk State. We had to put our own up there first.
That's right.
So
That's
we
right.
just look forward to y'all tuning in and letting us know how you feel. Make sure you subscribe, whatever your favorite podcast app that you use. Subscribe to it, subscribe to it. Like us on Instagram, Facebook, and make sure you share with at least 2 to 3 friends.
That's right. Our guest for today is a Norfolk State University graduate. He was the first football athlete to be drafted into the NFL during the school's Division I era. During his 10-year career, he not only received accolades for his work on the field, but also his community service work off the field. In 2016, he was named Detroit Lions Walter Peyton Man of the Year awardee. Since retiring, he has continued his efforts where he is the founder of the Reach Foundation, which educates students about careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. He's a published author of his book titled It's Not Because I'm Better Than You. In 2019, he was entered into the Norfolk State University Athletic Hall of Fame. He's now serving a 4-year term on City Council for the City of Chesapeake. Most importantly, he's a husband and a father. Please welcome to the Black to School podcast, Don Carey.
What's up, Don?
What's up, man? How y'all doing today?
Man, amazing. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on. We greatly appreciate you. Look, this might not be the first episode, but I'm going to tell you, you our first guest. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So we just thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, I want to start the conversation off. I listened to this podcast, this guy, Stephen A. He has a Trailblazing Nation podcast, and he starts every podcast off with a state of gratitude. So if you don't mind, can you just tell us what are you thankful for right now? What's going on in your life that maybe there's an unexpected gratitude that you have?
Yeah. Well, I would say anyone who knows me would not be surprised at my answer to say that I am tremendously grateful and thankful for my family. Yes, I get to wake up every single day to my beautiful bride of 6 years, going on 7, and 3 children that I have the pleasure of being in their lives, you know, raising, educating, teaching, guiding, correcting them. And they are my motivation for everything that I do.
Yes, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us, what school did you go to?
Oh man, the Norfolk State University. Behold, baby.
Okay,
come on,
okay. Great to go, baby.
Behold.
Yes.
So Don, for the listeners who haven't got a chance to hear your story, because you have an excellent story, tell them about your story.
Oh man, that's how long is the podcast? I'll give the Cliff Notes version, and y'all let me know what parts y'all want to dive into. Okay. You know, we can go as deep as you want. You know, as long as you want to.
Let's start where you from. Tell us where you from.
Okay, so from Norfolk, Virginia. Was actually born in Michigan, but December 13th, 2001, my mom met and married a retired military veteran by the name of William Robinson, and bro man moved us down to Norfolk. And
wow, from Michigan?
Yeah, Grand Rapids.
Yeah,
man, just pack the family up. Said time to go, new life.
Yeah,
it was quick too. I mean, so imagine this: June, I am preparing for my first year of football at Central High School, right? And this dude, big, barely chested, beard, dread head having. Hey, Hugh, did you know Rodney had dreads? But like dreads coming down and.
I didn't know him when he had dreads, but I've seen pictures when he had dreads. So Rob actually coached with me, and
oh wow.
My dad. Yeah, you coached with him.
Yeah.
So I remember our first day of scrimmage. We scrimmaged in this team, and I had what I thought was a good game. A couple of breakout runs at running back. Had like a 75-yard run, and then like a 40-yard run was like the highlight of the day. But my mom comes up to me with this big old barely chest dude, thick beard, long dreads, and
Right.
he started giving me advice. And I'm looking at my mom like, yo, who is this dude? You know, anybody knows Rob? Like when Rob started talking, it's like that's how my dad is, man. But man, to his credit, he spent a week with us, and the next thing I know, December 12th, a Penske truck rolls up. We packed that mug up. December 13th, we driving down 13 hours to Norfolk, Virginia.
Wow.
And we've been with him ever since. So
wow,
I know, right?
That's
so
amazing.
And it was a very integral point in my life, though, right? I mean, I'm to the age now where, to be honest with you, mom's licks don't hurt no more. So, I'm staying out late doing things I ain't got no business doing.
Yeah.
She's trying to get me straight, but my life, let's say my life changed when I met Rob. So he moved me down to Norfolk, raised us like we were his own kids. I go to Booker T. Washington High School.
Yeah.
While there, I did pretty good academically, but Rob came to every single game, recorded every single football game and track meet. And I remember we would come back home after the game and watch the game again. And he run through, what was you thinking here? What was you doing? What was this about? What was this about?
Yeah.
And I'll say in high school, maybe the most important thing that happened was when I sat down with Rob and my mom, and we went over, hey, what goals do you want for yourself? Like who was Don Carey when it was all said and done with? And I think like every, high school freshman, I want to make it to the NFL, cat playing ball.
Right.
I want to make it to the league. And then he asked the follow-up questions, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I got to go to college because they just put this rule in. You got to be in college for 3 years. He said, okay, well, how you do that? I'm like, well, I got to graduate high school. So those are my goals in that order. Graduate high school, go to college, go to the league. And Rob, being him, was like, that's not good enough, right? So I want you to graduate high school, but we're going to graduate with honors. I don't want you just to go to college, but we're going to get a scholarship. Now, mind you, how foreign this is. Nobody in my family had been to college.
Bro, you the first?
Not my dad, not my siblings. Yeah. Not my uncle.
That's amazing.
No one in my immediate family. No, I got, cousins from other individuals who went, but as far as my immediate sphere of influence, nobody within my lineage, my mom, my dad on down the road went to college.
That's awesome,
so
man.
I'm hearing Rob saying, they sound good, right? But anyway, hindsight, my man's had some wisdom.
So wait, so from Booker T to Norfolk State, they said, no, we don't want you. You can walk on if you can. Right. Did you have any other options?
So I had a partial scholarship to Tennessee that was taken away and given to an offensive lineman out of Florida. I found out later on that I had a partial scholarship to Villanova that I did not know about.
Wow.
Because I guess all that translation got lost between the head coach, and he thought I was committed to Norfolk State, didn't want to bring it up to me or whatnot, whatever it was. But no slight to him, everything worked out. And then I had several offers to walk on. Right. So
gotcha.
I mean, I had a bunch of other small things from like smaller schools. For instance, I had a couple Patriot League, Ivy League schools wanted me to come on, but that's purely more like an academic standpoint. I can walk on and play football as a bonus. Yeah. But in terms of going to college to play football, those a few partials, but the only full ride I received was
Now, Don, they say that when you get to college, that's the time where you pretty much become a man. In your book titled "It's Not Because I'm Better Than You," you talk about a transition that happened while you were at Norfolk State. What happened where things kind of changed for you, where you kind of started taking it a little bit more serious?
Yeah. So for me, man, I've always been like a lighthearted, agreeable individual when it comes to hanging around people. I never consider myself the most important person in the room. I never consider myself, like the person who got to step up and lead. So my first year at Norfolk State University, I kind of wanted to get along with the guys. I wanted to party because they was partying. We drinking. I wanted to drink. I wanted to be down, right? And it just so happened culture at that time was if we win, we drinking. If we lose, we drinking. We partying regardless. You know what I mean? Sweatbox Saturday night.
Sweatbox.
Right. So The reality of it was I come from this very strict situation, being in a home with Rob, and my room is right next to his. And now I'm at Norfolk State University, where there's ultimate freedom. There's nobody checking up on you. And on top of that, you have, a bunch of individuals whose lifestyle are not really conducive to a winning culture or to be successful in college. Right. And I started going down that path, to be honest with you. I didn't write about this part in the book because I was trying to keep it short. But what changed with me was at the end of my freshman year, Coach Adrian came to me and said, hey, I need to know if I made a mistake bringing you here, because I didn't bring you here to be the same cat as the guys we got. And the second thing that that really changed my life was two players, Daniel Hammond and Andre Twine. So both of those were, one was a starting corner and the other was a backup, but he would play sparingly with them in the nickel. Them jokers made me get up, man. Tuesday, Thursdays, we getting up, going to work out with the track team, 5 a.m. in the morning. Then we're going to do our football deal, and we come back after football. We're going to either go in a film room and learn how to watch film, or we're going to go back on the field and do DB drills. And those dudes really showed me how to be a professional, right? And how to take my craft seriously. Right. And I end up breaking my ankle my sophomore year, so I missed like a big chunk of the season. Wow. But based on the time I spent with them, my junior year was a breakout season that I don't think anyone anticipated, not even myself. Right. So we opened up the year against Virginia State, and man, we beat them for the first time. I don't know how long. Virginia State used to whoop on Norfolk State for a while. But we
for a while.
Yeah, it was a massacre, as it should be. No disrespect to them.
We used to beat them in the band competition. They beat us in the football. They beat us in football every year.
Check. We
got there. We weren't good.
Right. We would go check out the band battle, right? Knowing we had curfew, because that's where the excitement was. You know what I mean? Virginia State, Norfolk State band getting together. Come on, man. I mean that was anyway. Right. So, but then the game after that was against Rutgers University.
Okay.
And the tension was just different. First time we played a D1 school, basically they paid us $250,000 to come whoop up on us. Yep. All right. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I played basketball for Norfolk State, so I understand.
Yeah.
Our first 9 games, we were 0-9.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, we go up to Rutgers, and Pete said, "Look, man, they got a beast at receiver, and I want you to shadow him for most of the game." And it just so happened that, man, it was a long day for that brother, right? So that probably was like the breakout year. A bunch of scouts in the stands. I mean, they blew us out. Don't get me wrong, but as far as individually, had a really, really good game. And I mean, they had Taekwon Underwood, Kenny Britt, they had Ray Rice. I mean, just a stacked offense. It's tough for any D1 AA school to compete with that. I mean, they were ranked nationally on the D1 level, so it wasn't really a close game. But scouts began to come, to practice, pulling me out of practice, and I just so happened to have a really, really good year that year. We also had Tuer Whitehead that came on, and we were the top ranked defensive pass of the pass ranked defense in FCS ball. Mm-hmm. So we did some good stuff, man.
That's good.
Man, that's awesome. Let me ask you this. So
sure.
Rob, is it right? Your dad?
Yeah.
So Rob said, hey, we're not just going to graduate high school. We're going to graduate high school with honors.
Yeah.
Did you take any of that academia perspective to Norfolk State with you?
Yeah, to be honest, man, after Coach Gillis told me that, hey, I want to get in a scholarship there, I had given up on football. So I had a scholarship into the Denemis program at Norfolk State University, which, that's like an engineering program. I was going to study optical engineering at Norfolk State University. Nice. So I was always academically minded, and really, if you'll learn from reading my book that the reason I focused so heavy on education is because I was afraid to end up like my real father. And he was somebody who really he was a class clown, didn't take academics that serious. He was really more into sports than anything. Yeah. So I tried to be the antithesis of what he was in terms of doing things that way. So I always took, education seriously. I just never really set those type of goals that Rob did in terms of graduating at, top 5 in your class. I'm like, who
Right.
cares about that? I
Wow.
just want to get my degree.
Right.
Some of my mom, my dad barely did because they had me when they was in high school. So.
Gotcha. So academics at Norfolk State, you end up graduating.
Yeah.
And you finish academically, you finish strong.
Yeah.
And then you get drafted.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I got drafted before I graduated.
Wow. Whoa.
Wow.
You did what?
Mm-hmm. So I going into my senior year, when the scouts start coming and the agents start coming, we signed with an agent, and he basically said, "Hey, we're going to take the last semester off. You have to go train." And typically, that's what you find a lot of collegiate guys doing. They go off to train somewhere, in Miami, Georgia, someplace, one of the major training academies, because you're getting ready for the combine and the All-Star games. So I still enrolled in classes. I left mid-November. So as soon as the season was over with, I was on a plane down to Miami, and we were training, getting ready for the combine, getting ready for the bowl games, not the bowl games, but the All-Star games and Pro Day.
Yeah.
So I was drafted before I was able to finish school. Just so happened I came back after the end of my first year, and I finished up.
You have you talk about that part. Now, there was a little transition right after your first year, like you said, where you kind of fell into some hard times as well. Can you talk about that and how you bounced back?
Yeah, man. So interestingly enough, man, the NFL spotlight can do some things to anybody. So I get my degree, I go back, and I win a starting job. Right, I win a starting job as a safety, beating out a former first-round draft pick who was a good brother of mine. None slight against him, and now I'm the guy. I'm the guy starting safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you get all kind of newspapers writing about you, chicks flocking, money coming in. It was just something that honestly I wasn't quite prepared for. Yeah. And I started low key feeling myself, thinking, okay, yeah, this is me, right? And not preparing the way I used to, not doing the things I used to, quickly landed me cut the following year. It's just crazy that you spend so much time building up to get to a place, but then with the wrong mindset, it can be taken away like that in the NFL. So I didn't appreciate that getting to that starting spot was hard, but staying there would be 10 times harder. And that there are people vying for your position, not only on the team, but throughout the league, and heck, for guys now throughout the world, because scouting is really branched out that far. Right. So I find myself being cut from the Jaguars. Most of it was my fault. Some of it was just bad coaching, to be totally honest with you. Yeah. And me taking the pitfall for that. I have some individuals slander my name throughout the league, so I spend most of the year on the couch without nobody even giving me a phone call because I was a hothead, and then the production on the field wasn't that good. And to be honest with you, man, I was at the mercy of coming back into the NFL. I was at the mercy of somebody getting hurt, right? So an individual had to get hurt before somebody said, okay, let's give this Carey kid a try. And by that point, the humbling experience had settled in. I was back to my roots, the same thing that made me a good player at Norfolk State. I was back to where I should have been all along. And when the Detroit Lions signed me, I never relinquished that opportunity again. They signed me in 2011. By 2012, I'm a starter halfway through the year after I healed my hamstring. And I've been there. I was there, the rest of the way.
Wow. So tell us about your experience going back to Michigan, now in Detroit. You now have said, you know what, I am going to take hold of this opportunity. I know you retired with Detroit, correct?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you did while in Detroit? So I'm an entrepreneur. And as a business owner, I say, always make yourself more valuable than why people want you initially.
Yep.
So what are some of the things that you did in Detroit that made yourself more valuable than just a football player?
Yeah. So yeah, man, you hit on something big. The first thing I did when I got to Detroit is I asked the GM, head coach, and my position coach, why am I here? Like what value did you see in me that made you want to sign me? Because
That's what I'm talking about.
I think a lot of people fail to realize that if you make it to not just the NFL, if you make it to any position in any organization, you're there for a reason. They want you to fulfill some assignment. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I can find out why I'm here and I don't mess that up,
right.
I know bare minimum, I'm good. Right. So once I figured out why I was there, which when I first got there, it was, hey, we need somebody mainly to fill in some special team stuff and need some help on defense every now and again until our main guy gets healthy. Yeah. I said, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to show you that I have value in other areas as well. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I realized that the NFL, or the Detroit Lions at least, put a lot of value on guys who impact the community as well. All right, so while I was there, I began working with adult literacy in 2011 and 12, right? So helping adults go back, get their GED, help them with reading or whatnot, because it's a huge problem in the city of Detroit. You'd be so surprised that it was a problem at the time. And that then migrated to working with literacy with children, and that morphed into what we now call the Don Carey Reach Foundation. Yeah. So things of that nature. So on top of that, man, I wanted to get to the point where a coach would tell me, dog, you ain't getting off the field. And by the time we got to 2013, that was it, right? So 2013, the coach would come to me and say, hey, man, you be ready. You ain't getting off the field. And the way I got to that point was I spent every opportunity I could in the facility, taking care of my body, watching film, understanding the playbook, not just my position, but I can tell you what every single position did, down to the three shade to the outside corner. I don't care what the play was. I knew it. Yeah. Right. So I was able to become that coach on the field for those several years while I was a starter in Detroit, as well as I became irreplaceable on special teams. Right. This is something that I never really did in college, and really my first full year of doing special teams was like 14. Yeah. All right. So this is around a time where hamstrings are pulling left and right on my body. Mm-hmm. Lateral movement isn't as good as it was. So I'm like, I'm not ready to lead the league yet. I remember I was drafted by Cleveland, and I remember I was in a hot tub with Josh Cribbs, who was a receiver for Cleveland, return man, special teams ace. He said, bro, if you want to make it for a while in the NFL, you better learn how to beat a double vice outside at punt. And at that time, I'm like, I ain't hearing that trash, man. Like, I'm trying to start, man. Right. But,
y'all know who I am. I'm done.
Right. Right. Like, I was humble, I was cocky though. But once my body couldn't produce the way it would, my first couple years in the league, so the way I couldn't move the way I could in 2009, I remember what he said. He said, hey, you better learn how to beat a double vice if you want to last, extend your career. And I was to that point where I should have been done in 14, but because I learned how to beat that double vice, and albeit destroy a double vice and be unstoppable on special teams, that I extended my career another 4 years.
Now, you talked about Rashean Mathis, who's also HBCU alum from Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, man.
And you said that he probably had the most influence on you as far as players, not by what he per se said, but like you would just sit behind him taking notes. Yeah. What about him led you to say, hey, I'm gonna follow him and see what he's doing that I could follow?
Yeah, Rashean is amazing, to be honest, man. He So my first couple of years in the NFL was in Jacksonville. Rashean was in Jacksonville, right? He was the star DB leader, one of the leaders of the defense. And this was a time where, heck, it was a 25-minute flight down to Miami. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And I'm taking every opportunity to head down there, party on South Beach. My agent, my financial advisor had a club on South Beach, so it's nothing. We got on there and live a life, and I come back and share the stories. Right. And Rashean was that cat. There's always, trying to put some type of wisdom in a young, idiotic young man that I was,
Yeah.
as well as he and another guy named Scotty would make me come back after practice and do some DB drills with them and whatnot.
Yeah.
So these individuals not only worked with me to be a better man off the field, but they helped me to really hone into my craft on the NFL level when it got to, after practice. So similar to how Daniel and Andre did in college,
Yeah.
Scott and Rasheen did for me at Norfolk State. At the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
And then when I left Jaguars, I went up to the Lions, and I was there for, like I said, 2 years. And then Rasheen came back. All right, Rasheen, he come back. He came up to Detroit, and I had another opportunity to spend time with him another 4 years.
Nice.
Right, another 4 years in Detroit, and literally sat behind him again. And by that time, I was sold that, you know what, this is the kind of man that I want to be. Right, when I'm mature. So I do what he did. He was a family man. I sought to be a family man. He had moral principles. Had deep religious faith. I sought to do the same thing. He studied film. I studied. So I tried to model my life as best I could after him.
And it wasn't per se just the football aspect, but like you said, it was also that's when you really got serious with your faith as well.
Yeah.
So wait, speaking of which, you went to theology school.
Yeah.
Right. So in 14, Monday nights and Tuesday nights, I kind of like the slow nights in the NFL. I started taking courses at local seminary, Moody Theological Seminary, studying Old Testament theology, trying to understand, a little bit more about my faith. Really, it started off because I just didn't know about the Old Testament outside of a couple stories in Genesis and this dude named David with a rock. That's pretty much all I know. I was a nominal Christian, like a lot of people are when it comes to in the Bible and whatnot. Yeah. So I wanted to learn more. Right. And it was a nice little journey. It led me to where I kind of am now in terms of theological work and doing things for the faith. But yeah, that really was the beginning of a journey. And then on top of that, I'm also now married in 2014. Right. So I have a little more to live for than just myself.
Congratulations.
Right.
Too.
Yeah, you got to be in the spirit to be married. Faithfully.
You're gonna be the spirit of soap. That's what's up.
I'm married too, bro. Trust me.
Right? Yeah, marriage is beautiful. Marriage is beautiful. Yeah.
Well, you kind of landed on a lot of things pretty good. Just to name a few, you just became on the city council in Chesapeake. Congratulations to that.
Appreciate it.
You have your Reach program that you've been doing for years.
Yep.
You've done a lot of extensive work in the schools and education, and even while you were playing with the Lions, you were even awarded the Walter Peyton Award in 2018. So with all of these accolades, and I also want to ask, because you talk about some goals in even with the William Robinson effect in your book, you talk about how he would make you write down your goals. So with that being said, did you ever imagine that you would get into politics after getting out the league?
I did not, man. I did not. So it wasn't
politics of politics.
That's something that's definitely was a burning on my heart to say, you know what? I think that we need individual of a certain mindset, of a certain ilk, to be involved in local politics, to kind of help steer the city in a proper direction. I'm not saying we didn't have people on council at that time. I just felt like we needed more. So I threw my hat in the ring, and more people said they agree with me than not in terms of the election.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Huh?
I'm glad my vote counted.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But I mean, so just to throw out there, man, we received the most votes in city history.
Wow.
Right. So it's pretty cool. A lot of people say, hey man, a lot of people pulling for you. You know, a lot of people want to see some great things come from you.
Yep.
And the thing that here's the beauty of the NFL. The NFL requires so much of a player that regular life does not require outside of an NFL setting. So the way that I'm used to operating within the NFL, I'm able to bring the same intensity to the political sphere that I did when I was in the NFL. And it helps because not everyone has that same mindset. So the preparation you will put into a playbook, I put into, you know, the city codes and agendas for Tuesday, right? I view my office like I view the DB room, right? I view Tuesday nights, which is city council nights, that's game day for me, right? So if you notice, I kind of wear the same style of get up every single Tuesday night, which is, you know, slacks, a vest, tie with a shirt. That's my uniform. You know what I mean? So I'm bringing the same approach to city council that I did in the NFL, and I think it's been very, it's boded very well for me so far.
That's dope.
Nice.
That's dope.
So, look, at the Black to School podcast, we want to highlight HBCUs, obviously.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how has your experience? We know how your experience in the NFL has prepared you to where you are now.
Yeah.
How did your experience at Norfolk State prepare you for the next steps of your life?
Man, I wouldn't take back my experience at Norfolk State for anything. I think too many individuals fall into the trap of you have to go to some major PWI, right? Some major D1 school to find success wherever it is. So there's notion that's, I mean, it's spoon fed to us in the media, spoon fed to us by these organizations. You can't watch a doggone football commercial or somebody hollering "Roll Tide" down your throat. I mean, it's
right.
The notion of success, right, is what those schools look like, and is horrible. Number one, at Norfolk State, I never felt like I was just a student ID filling up a seat, right? I mean, I've made close ties with my professors who then helped me to have different connections throughout the community. To give an example, I was a building construction technology major, but one of my professors had a connection with the company called Hensel Phelps, which is one of the nation's largest construction companies.
Right.
And they had an internship where they would bring in around 20 interns from around the country, right? And we had 2 from Norfolk State University. And it's not just D1 schools, D2 schools, all. But because of his connections, we were to do that, right? I mean, stuff that's pretty cool. Not only that, I wanted to get into real estate afterwards. Well, it was because of my connections with my professors that I caught my first property. You know what I mean? And from that property, went into a next, into a next, into a next. And we worked on over 30 properties just like as a side hustle since then, and looking into doing greater and bigger things. The simple fact that you had to work a little harder at Norfolk State because of the perception of HBCUs were not what the reality is, prepares you for that next step. It's not so you don't get that notion of everything's been handed to you, because when you get in the world, ain't nothing gonna be handed to you. Right. And just to speak on in the NFL, HBCU players, 50% of guys who make it to the NFL from HBCUs play over 5 years.
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again for him.
50% of guys who make it to the NFL from HBCUs play more than 5 years. Now, what's the average career of an NFL player? 2.8 years. Ain't even 3. Yep. It's 2.8 years, maybe even less than that now. I mean, if once you get to that third year and that second game in that third year, you're vested. That means they're going to take care of you for the rest of your life. Yeah. Once you get to that 5-year mark, that means your benefits are going to start to multiply. You telling me half the cats who come from HBCU to make it to the league are at that 5-year mark? Man, that's something that less than 7,000 players in the history of the league have accomplished.
It's crazy you say that, because I ended up getting on a Twitter conversation a few months ago where some coaches were telling this parent that you could still get opportunities by going to an HBCU. And she was just saying how, nobody's going to be able to come see my son. They don't have good facilities. And, I jumped on and I told her, I was like, hey, I'm a school counselor and I'm a coach. I've seen plenty of people come from an HBCU and be successful. So it definitely you're definitely an example, and there's plenty. And I think you set the mark because after you, there was even more that ended up going to the NFL.
Let me say this in terms of no one's going to see my kid. There is one area, and only one area, where all 32 NFL organizations work together, and that is collegiate recruitment. Only one area. They can't stand each other in any other area, but these jokers will come together and they will share film, and they will collaborate together to find the next whomever. Why? Because if you don't have great talent coming into the NFL, you don't have a business. You understand? So for players then to keep that in mind, that hold on, it's not my job to make it to the NFL. It's my job to be productive where I am. Now, if you are a phenomenal individual who can go to Alabama and somehow start and play all 4 years as a starter in Alabama, oh, you're a beast. God bless you. That's not 99% of us, right? 99% of us have to go to a place where you can, number one, get a higher education, and number two, where you can show off your skill set on the field. You can show off your skill set on the field, yep. And I promise you, if you are where you can be productive, and you are productive where you are, then they're going to come find you. Right. That's their job. Right. It's their job to come find you. Right. And I tell you, man, this hit home with me my sophomore year. After I broke my ankle, that's why I didn't play a lot my sophomore year at Norfolk State. I broke my ankle, and I'm sitting in the film room watching film with the DB coach. And I remember like it was nothing, man. We had a coach named Coach Parker, was a receivers coach. And scouts came in for, some cats that I thought can play in the next level. Like I thought we had some monsters who can go. And they said, hey, man, you got some guys for us? And it was like, nah, we ain't got nothing for you. Wow. We ain't got nothing for you.
Wow.
Why? Because even though these cats had ability, they ain't have production. Wow.
Right.
You know what I mean? And coach was like, I'm not putting my name on the line for somebody with potential and no production. I'm like, and that's crazy, right? And I remember, man, contrasting that, and I'm not trying to say like I'm better than anybody. I don't think I'm better than nobody. Heck, the title of my book, right? Yeah. I'm not better than nobody. But when those same scouts came to Norfolk State, I remember Coach Parker coming into the room was like, look, man, this is the cat you need. He's a self-made man. He's going to be good on your team. And I was like, golly, man, just the fact that the coach felt comfortable enough in who I was and my production on the field, they stick his neck out for me when scouts came in, knowing that he wouldn't do that for his own guy. That's not even my position, coach. And he was doing that for me. Wow. It just goes to show, be productive where you are. I don't care if you play for the Montana Powder Puff University College. I don't care. If you are productive, bro, they're coming to find you. It's their job. Right. It's their job to find you. It's your job to be productive where you are.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Man, this has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
Just before we leave and wrap up the conversation, can you just tell us where you are now, what you're doing, where we can find your book, and just really give that last plug for HBCU Life?
Sure. All right, so where I am now, I am happily retired. My wife and I, we have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. I'm currently serving my first term in city council in the city of Chesapeake. I'm also working on a documentary that shares the Christian heritage of Africa to dispel the notion of the faith as a white man's religion. I think it's actually laughable when you the data we're going to present. It's actually the first of its kind. In the history of the world, there's never been somebody who traces Christianity from Jerusalem through Africa, through slavery.
Bro, I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait for that. I will be phenomenal. A huge
I get
fan
goosebumps just thinking about it. Right, so that'll be out hopefully later this year or early next year. We're still extremely active with the Reach Foundation. That's probably the easiest place to find me. Reachfoundation.org, REECH foundation.org. Okay. As well, you can contact us there. Leading some organizations within the city. I'm the president of the New Chesapeake Mans for Progress, which is the oldest African-American led organization in the city of Chesapeake that advocates for African-American leadership within local city government. man, at the end of the day, when active in a local church, I try to stay active because I'm productive paranoia. If I'm sitting down, I feel like something's going wrong. So I try to do something with my life. But at the end of the day, man, those individuals who are thinking they got to go to some major PWI, I would ask you to take a second look at your HBCU, bro. The reality is the media is going to sell you, go to a major, college, university. And if you can get the funds for it, if you can afford it, I got you. But if you're trying to find similar education, similar opportunities, at an affordable cost, and you can do things that are real supportive for your community and support the African American community and the HBCUs, I would do it. And don't fall into the notion that you got to go to a major school to make it to whatever pro level you're trying to get to. I will refute that. I did it for 10 years. I'm telling you what they're looking for, and it doesn't matter who you play for. They're gonna come
and when you say pro, I just want people to realize he's just not talking about athletics. He's talking about pro in whatever profession you are, whether it's medicine, whether it's engineering, whether it's an attorney, whatever pro level you want to be at, you can accomplish it at an HBCU.
So 2007, the end of NCAA, I'm about to say NAACP. In 2007, the NCAA had a slogan that there are over 200,000 student athletes in college, all going pro. Most are going pro in something other than sports. Before I even knew I was getting drafted in the NFL, I had a full-time job working for Hinton Phelps, that same company I told you, as a field engineer, making $50,000 a year coming out of college. Wow. Yeah, right. That's big. That's from Norfolk State University. Right. And I would have been relocated to Scottsdale, Arizona, off in my career as an engineer. It's possible, man. It's possible.
Absolutely.
You want to work in though.
Absolutely. Don, this has been a pleasure. This has been amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution.
I appreciate
it. We look forward to other people learning more about you, and hopefully people within Chesapeake learn more about you and can support in the whole Tidewater area. So we just say thank you, bro, from the bottom of our hearts, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
You, man. Thank you for coming.
Yep.
So, man, I've heard him speak to students. I've heard him speak at different forums. Even more impressive is how intellectual he is, man. But he's a great guy, man.
That's dope, man. You know what? That brings us to a great part of our show. Right. So at the end of the show, we have a segment called Lesson of the Day, where Hughes and I will talk about what we received or what we got from just that conversation. So lesson of the day for me with this review is have a plan.
Right.
It wasn't just enough to say I'm gonna make it to the NFL or I'm gonna make it to the NFL and I'm gonna play football. It's how are you going to do it?
Right.
How are you going to graduate high school? Yeah. How are you going to be successful in college? Right. So we can have this big plan, but we also need to develop a roadmap to go with that plan. So that was my takeaway. That was my lesson of the day. How about for you?
So look, man, my lesson of the day that I took from that was it doesn't matter where you are. Even if you're at an HBCU, they will find you. And it brings me back to the title of his book. It's not because I'm better than you. If you put in the work, no matter what you do, no matter where you are, they will find you. So he worked hard. Like you said, his father making him write down his goals. So him being able to see that every day, the transition from his sophomore year, the transition from his second year in the league, always brought back and was always reverted back to him working hard, man. So that was an excellent interview, man. Hope you guys got something great from that. Let us know what your lesson was that you got from it. Email us at blacktoschoolpodcast@gmail.com.
Subscribe, hit the like button at Black to School Podcast, Black to School Podcast on Facebook. We just want to say thank y'all. Episode 1 is in the books. Whoa!
Thank you.
Make sure y'all come back every week We'll have a new guest for you. Thank y'all, man. Tell 2 or 3 people you know about this Black to School podcast. Thank y'all.
Take a look into next week's episode.
But when the Porsche on campus, I'm like, oh.
I didn't pull up in the Bentley. Nah, I pulled up in the Porsche with a $45,000 check from real estate, and he was like,
wow.
He was like, bro. I was like, yeah, I just made $45,000 on this wholesale deal or whatever. He was like,
wow.
Bro, no, you didn't. I'm like, bro, you think I'm not the person to lie, bro. I'm not. I never came. I'm not the. That's never been me.
Cap.
I don't gotta cap it. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was like, show me. I was waiting for him to say it too. He's like, show me. I'm like,
right, because you had it ready. You was like, bro, it's in my pocket.